In 2020, I saved 10% of my income, and in 2021, I was able to increase that to 40%. There are a few factors that led me to save more money, and in today's video, I want to share those factors that can help you to save more income this year and throughout the rest of your life. The average American family saves roughly 6 to 8% of their income per year, and as of this year, Americans now have an average of $9,000 less in savings than they did last year. So let's not waste any time. Let's discuss a few of the main strategies that you can employ to save more money, and we'll also go over what to do with your savings to make more money and increase your wealth later on in this video. One of the main strategies that I employed to get my savings rate from 10% to 40% within the span of a year is to change my situation with my income. If you're making $30,000 a year, saving 40% of that is going to be a lot harder and almost impossible than if you're making, say, $200,000 a year and saving 40% of that. In the first situation, saving 40% would be $12,000, leaving you with only $18,000 to spend for the rest of the year. And in the second situation, if you save 40%, then you'd be saving $80K while able to spend $120K on your living. That's much easier and that's a ton of money. Now, if you're ever in the situation when you are making more money, you don't want to increase your expenses by too much. How many people do you know where they get a big raise or maybe they change jobs, but it still seems like they can't save any money? That's because when most people increase their income, they usually increase their lifestyle too, and this is known as lifestyle creep. I have a friend who doubled his salary within a year back in 2018 by switching jobs, but the first thing he did was to go get a new lease on a Tesla, increasing his overall lifestyle cost by $650 per month. He felt the need to prove his worth and status in society and wanted to show off by being able to afford a new car. Now, when the pandemic hit, his industry basically took a huge hit. He worked in commercial real estate, and he actually ended up having to sell that Tesla because he wasn't really saving appropriately. Now, this seems like a no-brainer. Everyone wants to make more money, and if it were that easy, everyone would be doing it. It's not easy to make more income, but I think this is where you should be spending most of your time because this is going to have the biggest impact on your financial situation moving forward. One of the ways you can increase your income is through educating yourself, perhaps getting a new certification or a skill and using those skills to get more money in the job market. For example, if you're a project manager, you can become a certified associate in project management, which is a certification that has led to a 25% increase in salary above project managers without those certifications. You can look up certifications online that might apply to your current job. Now, another strategy that you can do to increase your income is to simply ask for a raise or find a new job. Now, I know that this is more of a difficult ask and not everyone is in a position to do this, but currently inflation is 8%. So if you aren't making 8% more this year than you were last year, your salary is not earning you as much purchasing power. A lot of companies are increasing their wages right now, especially those in restaurants, hotels, and other hospitality industries. So if you are working in those and you're not seeing an increase in your wages, it might not hurt to ask because it's probably more accepted right now more than ever. Another way to increase your income is to pursue a side hustle on the weekends as well to try to earn some extra money. For example, one of my friends, he started a Medium blog where he talks about the stock market, which is his hobby, and one of his articles started to gain traction. He's now making around $60 to $80 a day from his articles online, which is an extra $1,800 to $2,000 per month. Now, if he keeps his lifestyle exactly the same, his savings rate is just going to increase quite quickly. For me personally, I spent $49,000 in expenses in 2020 and I made $55,000 doing consulting for e-commerce businesses. That means my savings rate was about 10% in 2020 alone. At the same time, I started to create content online in 2019, and by 2021, I started to monetize my YouTube and my TikTok channels, and that's when I nearly doubled my income to about $109,000 to $110,000 per year. Now, here's the important part though. My expenses didn't double with my income. Now, I would be lying if I said my expenses didn't go up. My overall expenses went from $49,000 to $63,000 in 2021. But that was mostly due to paying for my own health insurance and going to destination weddings, of which there were 3 that year. So while I doubled my income, let's say that's a 100% increase, my expenses went up 28%, and this difference allowed me to get to the savings rate of closer to 40%. Ideally, I would have increased my income by 100% and kept my expenses the exact same, but still I wasn't too upset with my overall savings rate in the end. There were some other ways that I got my savings rate to that number as well that you can employ. So even if you aren't increasing your income by a lot, or that seems a little bit impossible right now, you can still increase your savings rate. And this would be the other strategy of this video, which is to work on the expenses side of your life. We all have income and we all have expenses. Now, in the first strategy, we talked about how we can increase our income, but in the next few minutes, let's actually discuss some of the ways that you can cut back on your expenses so that you can save more. When we think about the biggest expenses that every person faces in daily life, it's usually housing, followed by car payments or transportation, insurance, and then sustenance, such as eating or drinking. One great thing you can do for yourself is to track your own expenses and really understand where your dollar is going. This will help you figure out what actions you need to take to get towards your savings goal. So let's pretend you make $5,000 a month and you want to save 40% of that, or $2,000 a month. That savings rate might not be possible if your rent is already taking up 50% of your income right now, which it is for many that live in a high density urban city. So if you're not able to save on rent at this exact moment, that's where the tracking of your expenses will really help, because perhaps you can look at the other categories that you're spending a little bit too much money in and trim those. The point of this video isn't to say that you need to save 40%, but even increasing your savings rate from 10% to 15% can go a long way with compounding your wealth. Besides housing, the next biggest category of spend for most people is the car payment. Now, according to research, the average car payment for a new vehicle is a record high $644 a month, a double-digit percentage increase from the prior year. That's a lot of money for the average American, considering that the average American salary is roughly $52,000 a year as of 2021. Now, there's no reason that you need to be spending that much on a car unless you're making at least, say, 10 times your car payment, in my opinion, because if your car payment is well over $600, and with gas prices at all-time highs, saving money is going to be a lot harder simply due to transportation costs. If you can find other ways to transport yourself, like public transportation, bike, or just switching to a cheaper car, that might be your best bet. So really evaluate all the options you have when it comes to transportation. Next, let's talk about food and drink costs. This is one of my personal Achilles heels because I really love to eat out and I do enjoy coffee from a coffee shop, but one of the things that you can do to save on food costs is to cook more at home or make coffee at home. Another way to cut back on food is to order less from delivery apps. Not using DoorDash or Uber Eats is probably one of the easiest ways to save money, because you can literally get the same meal without the delivery fees if you just go into the restaurant and pick up the food yourself. I know that cutting back on expenses isn't the most fun part, and I'm not saying that you should completely sacrifice your lifestyle for the sake of saving money, but if there are some low-hanging fruit in your life where you can save on certain areas, I would encourage you to try those efforts. There are a lot of people in the financial independence community that will try to be as frugal as possible to get their desired savings goal, and as a result, I think they sacrifice a little bit too much. You want to spend money on things that you think are worth it to you. That could be a gym membership that is too expensive. Now, I personally pay for Equinox. Now, do I think it's a good deal at $200 a month? No. But it definitely encourages me to get to the gym and make sure that I get my money's worth, which is in turn good for my health. And that's one thing I've learned to never to skimp on, which is your own health, because you only get one body and you want to live for as long as possible to enjoy the experience of being a human. And also selfishly, if you want to enjoy the money that you make, you might as well live for as long as you can. So let's say you're saving 20 or 40% of your income. What should you be doing with all that excess cash? Assuming you already have your emergency fund ready to go, then the point of saving all this income is to create more wealth with it. Ideally, you're investing that extra cash into income producing assets like real estate or more investments that will produce more income streams for you in the future. That way, your income is exponentially increasing so that your wealth simply compounds on itself. You need to have a plan for that money when the opportunity presents itself. So imagine that you had an account with cash ready to deploy during the last financial crisis of 2008. You could have bought up distressed properties in 2009, and just on appreciation alone, you would have done really well in increasing your overall wealth, not to mention the cash flow that you could have probably generated by renting those homes out during the last 13 years. You don't want to sit on cash forever, but it's not necessarily bad to sit on cash for a period of time while you're looking to capitalize on some opportunities. When you see a good opportunity come your way where you're comfortable with the amount of risk to reward ratio, that's when you can pull the trigger on spending your capital. You want to have access to liquidity, and others that don't have that quick access to liquidity might lose out on opportunities because of poor planning. Now, having that liquidity will come from saving as much of your income as possible, which is the point of this video. If you don't want to buy income producing assets, you can always invest it in the stock market, and I have a lot of videos on that on my channel. But the moral of the story here is that having a plan for saving your income is going to afford you more opportunities to leverage your money in the future. By the way, I do have a free newsletter on business and technology news if you'd like to subscribe to that. It's called Hump Days, and we come out with editions on Wednesdays and Sundays. The link will be in the description, as will the other articles that I've referenced in today's video. I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to subscribe and like the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.